Hello math class, so this is lesson 69, attempt number 4000, not really, about attempt number 5. And this lesson is called factoring trinomials. So what on earth is a trinomial? Before we learn that, we're going to learn a couple of math jargony terms. The first one is monomial. And we're on page 280 of your textbook if you want to open your textbooks to that page and read along as I'm doing these practice problems. So a monomial is an expression in the form of ax to the n. Now that looks confusing, but a is just any real number and n is any whole number. Okay, so it would be something like 4x squared or negative 3x to the 5th, or 1.692x to the 3rd. Even just a whole number, so we could have 4x. We don't have to have the exponent because really that would be 4x to the 1. Or we could have just 4 because that could be 4 times x to the 0. X to the 0 is 1, so it would really be 4 times 1, and that really equals 4. So 4 is also a monomial, or any other number for that matter. Okay, so a binomial is going to be the algebraic sum of two monomial expressions. So basically we're adding two monomials together. So it would be anything like 4x squared plus 3x. Bi as in bicycle, there are two of them, two wheels, so we have two monomial expressions. Another example, 7x to the 3rd minus 2x would be a binomial expression because we have two expressions there. A trinomial is going to have 3, so that would be something like 3x squared plus 2x minus 4. Now you'll notice each one of these monomials has to be separated by a plus or minus sign there. So we've got 3 expressions, and that makes it a trinomial. Tri as in like tricycle has 3 wheels. Tri meaning 3. Any one of these can be referred to as a polynomial. Poly just meaning more than one. You could have a polynomial that has 10 different monomials in it, as long as they're separated by a plus or minus sign. So it's something like 4x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus x minus 1. Something like that. That would be a polynomial. Alright, so we've already been working with trinomials. And when we factor a trinomial, all we're doing is breaking that trinomial down into two binomial parts. Now we've already been doing the opposite of that. We've been multiplying two binomials together to make a trinomial. So something like x plus 2 times x plus 3. And you guys have already been doing this. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 would be positive 3x. 2 times x would be positive 2x. And 2 times 3 would be positive 6. Now, whenever we do this, we always end up with like terms in the center there that we're going to have to put together. So we end up with x squared plus 2 plus 3 is 5x plus 6. All right, so you've already done that. That part's easy. So now what we're going to do is the opposite of that. We're just going to undo that multiplication. So a problem is going to start with the trinomial, and you have to break it down into two monomials that were multiplied together. So I'm going to rewrite this up top. All right, so the first step is to draw parentheses. And now it starts with x squared, so we know that we have to have an x here and an x here because x times x is going to make x squared. Now the pattern is this last number that doesn't have an x is going to be the two numbers, this blank and this blank, multiplied together. And this one is going to be the one that's attached to the x, the two numbers added together. So what I have to do is think of two factors of 6, two numbers that you can multiply to get 6, And when you add them, you get 5. So the factors of 6 are 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. So if I added 6 and 1, I would get 7. So that can't work because we have to find something that gets 5. If I added 3 and 2, I'm going to get 5. So I know these have to be 3 and 2. All right, let's try another one. Start with x squared plus 9x plus 20. All right, so I'm going to draw my parentheses first. This x squared right here tells me that I have to have x times x. Now I've got 20 over here, so I got to think of the factors of 20, numbers that can be multiplied to make 20 and added to make 9. All right, so the factors of 20 are 20 times 1, 10 times 2, and 5 times 4. So if I added together 20 and 1, I'm going to get 21. That can't work. If I added 10 and 2, I'm going to get 12. That can't work. If I add 5 and 4, I get 9. So that has to be the answer. So it'll be plus 5 and plus 4. And it doesn't matter what order we do this in, we're still going to come out with the same answer. So if I swap these around and put plus 4 over here and plus 5 over here, it's going to be the same. All right, let's multiply this back out and make sure that we come up with that trinomial. So if we said x times x, we would get x squared. X times 5 would be positive 5x. 4 times x would be positive 4x. And 4 times 5 would be positive 20. And then we have our 2 in the center that we're going to add. And we're going to get x squared plus 5 plus 4 is 9x plus 20. And that brings us back to the trinomial that we started with. Alright, it gets a little bit more complicated when you start using negative numbers. So first we'll practice multiplying two binomials. One of them is going to have a negative in there. So something like x plus 3 times x minus 4. Alright, so x plus 3 times x minus 4. First we're going to multiply. We're going to rainbow it. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 4 would be negative 4x. 3 times x would be positive 3x. And 3 times negative 4 would be negative 12. Now, notice how over here we ended up with a negative number because when we multiply a positive times a negative, we get a negative number. Now, here are 2 like terms in the center that we're going to put together. X squared. Now we have negative 4x and positive 3x. When we put those together, we're going to end up with negative x. Because you owe your mom $4, you pay back 3 of it, you still owe her $1. So we get x squared minus x minus 12. And we've already been doing this. Now we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to factor this trinomial. So we've got x squared minus x minus 12. Alright, so first step is always write your parentheses. This x tells us that we need an x here and an x here because x times x is x squared. This negative tells us that one of these factors is going to be positive and one's going to be negative. So let's think about the factors of 12. We've got 1 and 12. We've got 2 and 6. And then we've got 3 and 4. One of these has to be negative. So if we did 12 minus 1, we would end up with 11. And if we did negative 12 plus 1, we would end up with negative 11. So that can't be it. If we did negative 2 and 6, we would end up with 4. If we did negative 6 and 2, we'd end up with negative 4. So that's not it. If we did negative 3 and positive 4, we'd end up with positive 1. We've got a negative 1. So that means it has to be negative 4 and positive 3. When we put those together, we're going to end up with a negative 1. So negative 4 and positive 3. So on those are a little bit more tricky. You got to be careful with them. All right, I'm going to do an example from the book. So it is x squared minus 3x minus 18. And I'm on page 281. All right, so I'm going to start with my parentheses. And I know that I need x here and x here because x times x makes x squared. Now, I need two numbers that when multiplied together, they're going to get 18. And when they're added together, they're going to get negative 3. So we've got 18 and 1. We've got 9 and 2. And 6 and 3. Those are factors of 18. All right, so if I had negative 18 and positive 1, I'd end up with negative 17. Other way around, I'd end up with positive 17, so that can't be it. 9 minus 2 would be 7, or negative 7, so it can't be that one. Now, it can be this one, because 6 minus 3 is 3. So we know that it's going to be 6 and 3. Now, which one needs to be negative and which one needs to be positive? Well, we have negative 3, so the 6 needs to be negative. And the 3 is positive because negative 6 and positive 3 is going to make negative 3. Right, I'm going to do another example problem here. It's on the next page. X squared minus 14x minus 15. Alright, so first I'm going to put my parentheses and my x's because I know x times x is x squared. Factors of 15. Well, this one looks pretty easy right here because we have 15 times 1 is 15. 15 minus 1 would be 14. So we know it's 15 and 1. Now we got to figure out which one's negative and which one's positive. It's going to be the 15 that's negative because we want it to be negative 15. Positive 1 makes negative 14. All right, we'll try another one. X squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay. First step, draw your parentheses. Put in your x's. All right, now we're looking for two numbers, and we know one's going to be negative and one's going to be positive because that's a negative number right there. Sorry guys, camera shut off in the middle there. All right, we were on page 282. And we're factoring negative 5x plus x squared plus 6. Okay, this one they're trying to trip you up. They've got it all mixed up, so we got to put it in the right order. So we want it in the order, descending order of the exponent. So the highest exponent is squared, so we're going to put the x squared first, minus 5x plus 6. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because this is a plus right here. That means that both of our numbers have to be either negative or positive. This one's a negative. We cannot add two positive numbers together and get a negative number. So that means that both of our numbers are going to have to be negative. Because a negative times a negative is going to make a positive. All right, this one we're going to put in our x's. And this one looks like it's going to be 6 times 1, no, 6 and 1, negative 6, negative 1 would make negative 7. 3 times 2, negative 3 times negative 2. If we added those together, we're going to get negative 5. That's what we're looking for. So it's minus 3 and minus 2. So now do you see how if we did x times x, we would get x squared, x times negative 2, negative 2x, x times negative 3, negative 3x, and then 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 3 times negative 2 is going to make positive 6 because a negative times a negative makes a positive. Then when we put these two together, it's going to be x squared minus 5x plus 6, and that's what we started with. All right, next example problem is x squared plus 5 plus 6x. All right, this one they're trying to trick us up again because these are not in the right order. So first we're going to write them in the correct order. X squared plus 6x plus 5. Then we're going to put our parentheses. Now we need two numbers that when we multiply them, we get 5. When we add them, we get 6. The only factors of 5 are 5 and 1. And if we add 5 plus 1, we're going to get 6. So that one's pretty easy. So I can double check this and say 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. Alright, so that is the last example problem in the book. I want you guys to pause this video and try to do the practice problems A, B, and C. And then restart the video after you have answers, and I will work them for you. Alright, so hopefully you paused the video and you have worked the example problems, the practice problems on page 283, and I am going to work them for you. So first is A, and it's x squared minus x minus 42. Alright, it's in the right order. I'm going to start by putting parentheses, and then this x squared tells me I'm going to need an x here and an x here. Now, what are two numbers that when we multiply them together, we get 42? Well, the first one that comes to my mind is 6 and 7. And I got to figure out, so 6 minus 7 would be 1. Or 7 minus 6 will be 1. 6 minus 7 would be negative 1. So it's plus 6 minus 7, so that we get our negative 1. That's A. B. X squared plus x minus 42. This is just like the other one. We're going to start with parentheses. We're going to put our x's at the beginning because x times x makes x squared. Alright, and we know it's 6 and 7 again. Doesn't matter which order I put them in. Now this one we want to come up with positive 1. So if we do 7 minus 6, we're going to have positive 1. So do you see how positive 7 minus 6 is going to make positive 1? And then 7 times 6 is 42. Right, and the last one, C, x squared minus 6x minus 16. Okay, so we're going to start with, write our parentheses, put an x at the beginning of both of those, because x times x makes x squared. Now, we know we're going to have a negative and a positive because we've got a negative number right there. We need two numbers that when multiplied together, we're going to get 16. Negative 16. So we've got factors of 16 would be 16 times 1, 2 times 8, and that's 4 times 4. Okay. So, when added together, they got to come up with negative 6. 16 and 1, all we're going to get is 15 or negative 15, so that's not going to work. If we did negative 8 and positive 2, that would give us negative 6. So, we're going to have negative 8 and positive 2. Alright, so I'm only going to do one lesson since this is my first video lesson that we've done online, and we're going to kind of see how this goes. So your homework is lesson 69, and that's going to be due on Monday. You're going to have to turn that in on Google Classroom. To do that, you're either going to have to take a picture of your completed homework page, or you're going to have to scan that and attach it to the assignment. So there'll be an assignment that says lesson 69. You go into the assignment page, and then you'll click add attachment or attach document, and you can either attach a photo of your homework or the scanned document of your homework. I'm trying to figure out a way that you guys can use exponents on Google Classroom. But for now, we're just going to either scan it or take a picture of it and send it to me. And then I will try to have another video up on Tuesday for the next lesson. So I'm going to try to do 2 video lessons a week. And I'm going to try to figure out how to do live streaming. I haven't quite got that down yet, so we will see about that. But for now, it's lesson 69, and try to get it done by Monday and turn it in on Google Classroom. And if there are any that you can't complete, please message me and I will work them for you. and I can help you. So if you have any questions or you don't know how to do a problem, just send me a message. All right, thanks. Bye.